This is the Boston Marathon Amateur Radio Communications, brought to you by the Amateur Radio Volunteer Coordinators, Paul Topolsky, W1SCX, Bob DeMattia, K1IW, and Steve Schwarm, W3EVE.
Hello, this is Paul Topolsky, W1SCX, and welcome to the first in a series of videos designed for the Boston Marathon Volunteer Amateur Radio Operator. On behalf of myself, the Boston Athletic Association, and my partners Bob DeMattia, K1IW, and Steve Schwarm, W3EVE, we thank you for your past and renewed interest in volunteering for the marathon. If this is your first time volunteering for the marathon, or you haven't quite yet decided to commit, let me say that this is the most enjoyable and gratifying public service event you can work. The marathon is a world-class event, and this is extreme ham radio at its best. So, come on down. It's time to sign up for the marathon.
You are viewing a PowerPoint presentation that was prepared for the Boston Marathon Public Safety Committee and was presented at the Massachusetts Emergency Management Agency headquarters in April of 2006. The presentation was designed to familiarize all public safety agencies with the role of the amateur radio community, the services provided by hams, the differences between ham radio and other communications services. The presentation also outlines the communications plan used by hams and how different ham radio groups interoperate to pass tactical, logistical, and emergency communications. This video is not intended solely for radio amateurs. The video may be used also by public safety agencies and other marathon volunteers as an introduction to the Boston Marathon amateur radio communications operations. First, let me begin by saying that amateur or ham radio is a service that promotes education and personal fulfillment in the study of the radio art. With a very wide range of subjects and activities, hams learn about electronics, communications techniques and processes, radio and computer networking, message and traffic handling techniques, and an almost endless list of other topics and activities. With over 7 million hams worldwide and upwards of 700,000 U.S. hams, amateur radio is a bigger part of American life than one might think. Between life-saving communications while on the road, radio contesting or radio sport, building equipment and public service activities, amateur radio is all around. Ham radio is even an integral part of the space program with equipment on board the International Space Station. However, all that being said, the very first basis and purpose of amateur radio is emergency communications. Chapter 47 of the U.S. Code of Federal Regulations, Part 97, Subpart A, Section 97.1.A states, recognition and enhancement of the value of the amateur service to the public as a voluntary non-commercial communication service, particularly with respect to providing emergency communications. No discussion of what amateur radio is would be complete without first differentiating it from other radio services that the FCC provides. The Citizens Radio Service, or CB Radio, is more often confused with amateur radio than any other service. The basis and purpose of CB Radio is completely different from ham radio, and the only provisions for emergencies is a single calling channel. Limiting factors of CB radio include a single band of operation, a single mode, limited channel capacity, and low power. The service does not have a licensing requirement, and with little or no rules enforcement. These limitations make this service incompatible with the communications mission requirements for the Boston Marathon. The Family Radio Service, or FRS, is a relatively new service that is designed for consumer use and provides an inexpensive alternative to other UHF-FM commercial radios. With only 14 channels, very low power, and the inability to connect an external antenna, this service will not serve the needs of the marathon. Furthermore, with the same radio service available to anyone, the chance of finding an unused channel amongst tens of thousands of spectators make this service incompatible. A potential alternative to amateur radio is the General Mobile Radio Service, GMRS. The combination of higher power, commercial-grade radio equipment, and even repeaters make this service better than FRS and CB radio. However, this service comes up short of meeting mission requirements because of the limitations of the single FM voice mode, the high cost of equipment, and the limited number of available operators. Also, the operators simply need to purchase a license from the FCC, and thus those operators are not trained nearly as well as hams. The newest radio service from the FCC is the Multi-Use Radio Service, or MURS. This service allows for more modes of operation, including FM voice, data, and even imaging capability. However, the combination of low power and the lack of channel capacity make this service incompatible with marathon needs.